of the following. Oh, Americans do death so badly. We're a death-denying culture. Nobody talks about death. I didn't quite know how to take these comments because it seems to me discussions about death are everywhere. Think about how popular books like Atul Gawande's Being Mortal or Paul Kalanithe's When Breath Becomes Air have been, or the Pixar movie Coco, or the hundreds of death cafes across the country created for the sole purpose of discussing death and dying. Michelle Appenzeller, the clinical director at Hospice of Mercy in Durango, says the subject's current popularity sometimes strikes her as hilarious because it was such a taboo when she first began hospice work in 1986. It's been so weird, funny too, she says. Death cafes, people wanting to talk about death, it's almost become cool and sexy. Still, my mother and I didn't know vital details until our conversation with the hospice nurse. Furthermore, all the discussion doesn't mean people are actually confronting their own deaths, says Appenzeller. But still, you can have a 100-year-old and you talk about hospice, and the family is shocked that their loved one's dying. The fact is, we talk about death and dying a lot in our culture, but that doesn't mean we face our own mortality, or that we talk enough about important aspects of dying, or that we have enough information about what dying is like. Most Americans don't have to deal with death directly as often or as soon in our lives as our ancestors did, and medical advances can feel so successful that we think they can fix anything. Many of us have lost touch with what dying is actually like. Think about how people die on television or in the movies, says Marion Grant, a hospice and palliative care nurse practitioner and senior advisor to the Coalition to Transform Advanced Care. They are awake to the end. They have meaningful conversations, and then their heads just turn to the side and then they're dead. But that image doesn't mirror reality. That is not what any of this looks like, Grant says. 100 years ago, people died at home. People died in childbirth. Children died. You would never have made it into adult life without having seen somebody you knew, a neighbor or someone in your community, actually die. Now, you could make it into your 60s or 70s and never have seen that. And what you see on television is this lovely romantic notion. But real life is not like that. More than 90% of all Americans will almost certainly die as my mother did, living for weeks, months, or even years with the knowledge that they have a fatal disease. But most of us know little about what to expect during that time, despite the research from scholars on the experiences, symptoms, and emotional states of dying people, ranging from the existential slap, the shattering realization after a fatal diagnosis that we really are mortal, to the amount of pain dying people endure, to the most successful methods in helping dying people cope. That knowledge still isn't widely available, despite a growing appetite for information about dying. This book can't possibly treat all the information or all the facets of death and dying worth knowing about. My focus here is on what patients can expect to face in their final months. The book is based on research and interviews with doctors, nurses, psychologists, and other experts, and informed by my own deep sense of curiosity born from years of witnessing hospice patients' experiences. I've tried to be as honest as possible, even blunt sometimes, because that's what my mother and I